Okay, so hey, hi everyone. We will start the session in 15 minutes. We'll start it at 8:30. So please do let us know about your background. Do let us know about your expectation from this session and which clouds do you work on? Do you work with Azure? Which technology do you use? Which programming languages do you use? Which services have you worked with before? And any special or you must have seen the agenda. Anyways, Jigar will walk us through the agenda very soon. So please do let us know about your background.
Hello everyone, thank you so much for joining in. We will go live by 8:30 sharp. So people are still joining in. Meanwhile, you guys can just let us know about your background. Sumit is a web developer, okay? Angelica is a DevOps engineer, okay, great. So in another 10 minutes, we will go live. Thank you everyone for joining in. I see people are joining in. We are increasing in count. Krishna Raj is a senior architect. Okay, thank you. Good to know the background of everyone. Hello all. So we will start in next 8 minutes. People are still joining in. In 8 more minutes, we'll go live. Next 5 minutes, guys, we will go live. So meanwhile, you guys can give a brief more about your profile, so that would help us in understanding what all background people are joining in. Say Mohammed's session is going to start soon. Another next 5 minutes, we will start the session. People are still joining in. We have still 5 more minutes. We would really appreciate if you can just give a one-liner about your background, please. Be with us, guys. In next 4 minutes, we will start the live session. Surendra is a full stack developer. Great. Hi all, 2 more minutes and we will start the session. One more minute to go. Thank you everyone for joining in. I hope all of you are fine and safe. So today we are focusing on how we can deploy and develop a modern web app in Azure. So thank you so much everyone for joining in Tech Scalable session today. So just to give you a quick brief on Tech Scalable is provides training and consulting that is which is across, I would say, focused on different domain like cloud, DevOps, machine learning, data science, and AI. So our today's speaker for this particular webinar is Jigar. So just to give you a quick brief introduction about him, Jigar comes with a 16 plus years of experience and he is a multi-cloud architect. He has not just helped, I would say, companies and participants in ramping up on different technologies, but he also do have a consulting experience which he brings in his profile. So he has trained, I would say, approximately close to 5,000 plus IT professional across the globe via classroom and virtual training sessions. And just to name few of the companies from which he has, I would say, trained people is Infosys, Mindtree, TCS, Wipro, Accenture, and many more. And he is also an MCT. So over to you, Jigar. So guys, Jigar will give you again, I would say, a quick intro on what goodies or what takeaways we have. So be with us till the end of the session and you can see what all you can win with by attending this session till the end. So Jigar will give you a quick brief on that before he starts the session. Over to you, Jigar.
Hey, thanks, Gopal. I hope you guys can hear me loud and clear.
You're pretty audible.
Okay, so thank you guys for joining the webinar. So, as Gopal rightly mentioned, that at the end of the session there will be a goodies for all the participants. So, the first option is that everybody will get opportunity to get some discounted rate book, and which is something offered by Pact. This is basically the cloud scale analytics with Azure Data Service ebook, which you guys can purchase with 25% discount. Everybody, each and every single participants of this particular webinar, they can definitely get that particular discounted book. There's one thing. Second thing, there will be a quiz at the end of this particular session, and people, people who all are winner of that particular quiz, the three folks, lucky folks, will get the opportunity to win this book. And this book will be sponsored by Tech Scalable. And of course, today's webinar sponsor will be for this book will be Pack Publishing. So definitely you will get that particular books at the end of that quiz if you really get lucky and if you have given all correct answer of those particular questions, right? So that's from the offer point of view, or probably you can say the kind of lucky folks will get that access to it. Now, coming back to the topic, what we are planning to cover up in today's session. So this is something majorly focused on case study driven approach. Okay, so majorly what we are planning to cover up is that how the overall cloud point of view, because nowadays major applications or most of the solutions are revolving around cloud platform and all, right? So at the end of the day, we need to know how we can design that specific solution extensively, what kind of technology stack we can add into it, and how we can leverage the modern technology stack offered from the cloud services. Now, in this particular case study scenario, we will be discussing a couple of services. Of course, there will be a live demo. I'll be talking about, or I'll take you through with a couple of components of that particular demo. We will be talking about the overall case study, which is something available along with the solution, that how that solution works, what kind of deployment you can do it, and how you can build kind of latest and greatest applications with the help of cloud, right? So that is something what we are planning to cover up. At the same time, we will be going through with one of the demo from that entire architecture. There will be a small piece of demo we will be trying to cover up. Of course, considering the whole architecture, it will be the complex one, but at the same time, I'll try to break up that particular thing in a small piece, and then we can focus on that particular solution out of the box. So we will try to utilize the time specifically, and I would like to help you out in terms of solving certain kind of business use case with Azure services. Now, as a part of this entire session, what we are going through with is that we will be covering up certain kind of PaaS services. That is something what we are planning to focus on. So of course, infrastructure as a service point of view, definitely many of you guys have heard about it, or you must have implemented certain things from on-premise, or maybe respective to Azure, AWS, Google, or any particular cloud platform. You must have gone through with that. So here what we are covering up is that the platform as a service, because when majority of developers, when they are planning to go ahead and build that particular application with latest and greatest tool chain, then definitely they have to get familiar with PaaS services, right? So here, the modern development environment which is offered by Microsoft Azure, which includes a couple of PaaS services, which includes you can say web app, API apps. You can also consider some sort of logic app, function app. There are some particular, you can say, a kind of Azure standard services are available in terms of modernizing your overall platform, right? So before like getting into more detail of the case study, first of all, I would like to explain you what was the requirement kind of. We'll go through with some hypothetical name. Of course, we'll take it as in Conteso of Fabricam, and we can have that hypothetical concepts to be on table, and we'll discuss out that what was the actual real-time problem statement, and how that particular problem statement we can solve with the help of Azure PaaS services, and what is the best way to go for it. Like, what is the solution we can consider, what are the services available which will help in terms of give you some sort of like particular breakup in that particular case, and we'll understand the overall holistic picture of that, modernizing our cloud apps and all. Right now, let me give you some background before moving to the case study. So usually the approach from moving our solutions from on-premise to cloud, or probably even cloud to cloud as well, usually many enterprise looks for infrastructure as a service, right? So they prefer that we just wanted particular solutions to be moved from infra to infra, so in case they can avoid certain kind of problem statement, or they can have as is kind of solutions to be up and running. And of course, I mean, there are many particular options available, or maybe you can say cloud rationalization pattern available, like rehost, refactor, and various things are part of it. But here what we can consider is that uh, uh, from from the Azure front, from the solution point of view, how the particular services are going to be utilized, right? So for example, if I want to modernize my platform, so what are the tools I can map it, how can I leverage my latest and greatest platform, and it will help me to modernize my solution. So it could be containerization, it could be web apps, it could be PaaS services, which will help you to modernize your particular services. So let's get started. So here, basically, the problem statement here, what we are planning to cover up is that some sort of like e-commerce platform, right? So usually I would like to hear from you guys as well, that when you guys design or develop, or probably you plan any particular application development process and all, what is your thought process? Like, what are the activities you face as in challenges in terms of developing some complex solution across the cloud platform, utilizing some extensive services? What kind of problem statement you face from on-prem point of view? Say, for example, security front, in terms of data storage, in terms of connecting those particular data storage with your application, or modernizing those particular data platform with latest and greatest tool chain and all, right? So basically, when we have certain kind of application requirement, so something around that, here the similar kind of approach is that where Contoso Sports League, it's an basically you can consider it's a large sports franchise organization, and basically they are running certain kind of e-commerce platform where a different sportsman can purchase certain merchandise, or probably whatever the sports equipments and all that thing. So this is something kind of standard requirement. Now, uh, being a being a particular you can say organization, they were having certain kind of on-premise solutions, they were running it, and now they're planning to scale that particular infrastructure. They are planning to scale the solution with latest and greatest services, right? And they have some particular standard requirement. So the last point, which is something highlighting about need to be PCI DSS level 1 compliant. So just wanted to understand from all of you, what is your understanding towards PCI? What is your understanding about PCI? Anybody? Any idea about PCI? Have you heard about PCI? Anyone? Maybe if you guys can post in chat, what is your understanding about PCI and why that matters or important for any particular cloud service provider or any particular e-commerce portal? Okay, Azure King says payment card interface, data security standard. Shankar says payments. Okay. Okay, so that's great. So basically, Anil says security standards. So here, one of the biggest requirement which is coming from any enterprises is that they look for certain kind of payment card industry, right? So when it comes to online payment gateway, or wherever we see that there are certain particular online applications where they do accept payment gateway and all that, so they have to they have to plan certain kind of standards. They have to follow certain particular you can say compliance to be followed, right? So before moving into any particular cloud, be it Azure, AWS, or Google Cloud, always enterprise wanted to analyze that whether our solution is going to be compatible in cloud or not, whether cloud service provider is following certain compliance to deploy those solutions or not, right? So basically that is something very much required for you to understand that how those particular compliance will be adhered by respective cloud service provider and all. So here I can say that uh, if you go and check Azure website, so portal.azure.com or even azure.com as well, you will see there are a variety of compliance will be taken care by Microsoft Azure. So it will be HIPAA compliance, which belongs to mostly, you can say, kind of healthcare or those kind of industry. You can say PCI standard, as you guys rightly mentioned, that payment card industry where majority of the organization who accepts their online payment, right? So basically you need to fulfill the business requirement where the standards will be followed, FISMA or PCI or various different particular, even you must have heard about like nowadays that EU compliance for data as well, right? So that is also something mandatory for securing and storing their particular data into cloud. So basically, when it comes to any enterprises, when they are planning any particular kind of solution to be moved into cloud, then they should have some clear visibility that whether this particular respective cloud service provider offers that or not, right? So this is one of the core situation where they are expecting certain kind of solutions where Microsoft Azure can help, and in terms of providing certain kind of compliance driven services where they can build and host their particular solution, right? So that is one of the core requirement. Second thing is that majority of the data warehousing. So you can consider that when it comes to e-commerce platforms. So there are a variety of requirements you get it, right? So say for example, it will be a recommendation engine, or maybe you can say visualizing the usage of that particular entire website, or what all the product catalogs are quite popular and how people were using it, and a lot of requirement what we can think about it, right? So basically the core objective is that we need to figure it out that when we propose a particular solution, it will fulfill all the standard requirement, right? So basically it supports like all my OLTP process, ETL process going forward in future in case of any analysis or any sort of you can say particular data processing required, or predictive analysis, real-time analysis expected, right? Because if somebody wants to decide that which sports are like in trend, and what all the sports accessories are getting purchased, and how what all the different events are happening, and what is like dislike of the people, so kind of data they just wanted to manage and fulfill, and behind the scene basically they just wanted to span their particular business into different location. So in that case, definitely Contoso required certain kind of services which are highly scalable, which can be adapt fast, and it will be like quick to market, so they can go ahead and simply go ahead and deploy those particular solutions, and they can expand their business into respective region, right? So that's basically a standard requirement from any particular enterprise front. Here there are a couple of need and objections are also I have highlighted from the you can say Contoso front. So basically move infrastructure to PaaS solution. So one of the core requirement most of the enterprises nowadays coming up with that, initially they wanted to move their particular infrastructure as is, because usually what happened that they have a legacy application which may develop with some old code or old framework which they just wanted to continue as is at the initial phase, but later stage they wanted to re-architect them. They have to they need to redesign them and convert them from monolithic to microservice kind of architecture, or they need to convert it to from virtual machine deployed. From there they just wanted to containerize them. So a couple of modernization pathway they just wanted to adapt, and PaaS solution is one of them, where these technology stack fall into the category, right? And there are a couple of services which you can think through about, which helps you to play around with this particular services and all. Now, the core objective is that when we think about those particular standard cloud services, then I mean, I'll brief you about those particular services in upcoming slide, but a couple of them like Azure Web App, Logic App, Function App, or even these are my particular workflow orchestration or some sort of Lambda function kind of, if you have heard about in AWS, maybe if you're familiar with it, then some similar kind of services there with Azure as well. And at the same time, the database front. So basically, you know that there are many managed database platform available with Azure, which is something focused on Azure SQL database, which offers you a complete managed database platform as a service. You get a Cosmos DB, right? Fully managed storage. So variety of services are part of that entire PaaS collection, which will help you modernize your particular infrastructure. And definitely there are quite a good of value addition into your overall solution deployment into cloud, which help you to consider that, hey, if I wanted to move from managing my SQL server, I don't want to maintain a lot of operational activity manually. Let's say, for example, point in time restore, kind of regular patching, updating, backup, especially the version of my database. Like every time I need to worry about like updating them with the latest and greatest version. So a lot of activities are part of it. So when it comes to such kind of requirement, definitely many enterprise wanted to consider that we need to move it into from infra to PaaS kind of thing, right? Of course, I mean, as we discussed about PCI compliance, which is something you can say that it could be a kind of one of the requirement. The most important requirement nowadays, if you see, is that data privacy and protection, right? So any idea like how you guys basically manage, or even providing better management of username and password? So this too, like one of the core requirements. So what is your thought process in terms of capturing data encryption, or even a particular you can say in terms of basically protecting your username and password? Any idea, any guess, what is your thought process about using about these kind of like technology stacks for your data protection and security? Okay, I see Azure King says we use IDP, Azure Active Directory. Okay, that's really cool. So that's for username and password, right? I mean, protecting your credentials and all that. Okay, I see. Okay, there is a one. Madhvan says Azure Key Vault. Okay, integration HashiCorp Vault, service account, Azure Active Directory. Okay, so basically here the purpose of asking this question is to understand that what kind of like storage we are using, what kind of security options are available, and how we can protect our solution out of the box, right? So yeah, so basically I see like, okay, many folks are saying Okta, certificate and token, app registration and using certificate or secret, Kubernetes secrets, of course. So to summarize this, I can consider that here basically one of the core requirement over here is that when it comes to protecting particular data, so first thing in place, there are two elements to it. Okay, so one is basically a particular data protection, and as well as the credentials, okay, from the username and password and all that thing. So first thing in place, if it's a privacy and data protection, then usually we prefer certain kind of encryption mechanism, and we use this terminology in industry that data at rest, data in transit. We just wanted to make it secure, right? So definitely each database comes up with their different offerings where they offer a kind of encryption, right? And definitely we need to take care of those kind of activity. Now, one of the biggest challenge we face in such kind of issue is that how the data is getting leaked, how the data is getting getting leaked. Or maybe you must have seen that some particular hackers go ahead and start publishing your particular data, and they just get access to your particular information. So one of the key problem statement which we are going to take a look at it in our particular today's demo or solution as well, which is revolving around this particular thing, which is majorly focused on a particular concept of storing our connection strings, right? Usually, whenever your connection strings are exposed within your code, what happened that a lot of developers, they simply go ahead and hard code those particular keys into the application code or in web config file or probably POM file and all that. And one of the biggest issue is that if somebody get access to those connection strings and all, probably they try to retrieve certain kind of data or certain informations from your particular backend systems and all that. So one of the core objective is that how we can protect our particular information, what are the options available without sharing application connecting to the different kind of entity like storage, database, or some sort of like messaging services, and different entities are there. So how we can protect our secrets, how we can protect our key in terms of backend, and what is the best way to consume them in our particular web application and all, right? So that is something what we're going to talk about. From the management point of view, from the username and password front, so of course, I mean, a couple of folks have mentioned regarding the Azure Active Directory. So now in modern application world, majority of the enterprises prefers to go ahead with so earlier, I still remember that in older days, we used to store our username and password into database, and then it is getting authenticated, or probably sometimes it will be through LDAP or Windows Active Directory on premise, and we used to have some sort of single sign-on or some sort of single sign-on to connect with multiple apps on the organization level and all. Now, something similar to that, if we are extending to the cloud, so Azure Active Directory comes up as an kind of value addition where you can have different kind of scenarios to be taken care, where you can say B2B or B2C kind of scenario. So B2B stands for business to business authentication, or business to customer authentication kind of options we can take care of it. So that's basically the objection from the client Contoso point of view, that these are some core requirement that when the application has been modernized and whenever it goes to the next level, then what kind of options they can get it, and how that is something going to be addressed over here. Now, along with this, they Contoso expect that as soon as the so if I consider the entire workflow from the order process to sending email or sending some sort of notification to my particular backend user or whoever, the vendors who or the sellers who are selling that particular products and all. So basically, we need a kind of notification. We need a kind of integration with some sort of APIs, so that in case going forward in future, in case any new vendors or any new particular sellers are going onboarded, then they can have extensive connectivity with the e-commerce platform. They can connect and access their particular data. They can upload their products and whatnot. I mean, there has to be some admin panel where vendors and sellers can connect, and then they can provide certain kind of informations at the back end, right? Also, we need to think about providing certain kind of failover mechanism, which will help you in terms of, in case of any primary region where the application is hosted, or within that particular location itself, what is the best way to cover up the SLA, that at least minimum 2 instances are up and running, and covering that particular solution is something what we can think through. Also, at the same time, it should cover data warehouse analytics. So in case going forward in future, let's say being a vendor, if Conteso wanted to decide that, okay, hey, if we want to go ahead to the next level and sell this particular product in so and so market, then they should have some visibility at analytics and all that, like what all the products are getting purchased and sells and all that stuff. So basically they need to collect the data, and at the same time they need certain kind of reporting and some sort of output as well. And definitely the one of the biggest requirement is the automation of application code. So in case of any particular requirement comes in, they are in a better position to keep on build, release and manage their particular application code throughout the life cycle, right? So that's what the overall objective in terms of solution expected. Now here the objection also given that how can Azure Trust Center can help with PCI compliance? Can solution scale to meet customer demand and allow secure access by call center and warehouses? So basically, it's a kind of standard requirement where any enterprise will have, right? I mean, they wanted to see that how, I mean, the way we are deploying our solutions in respective cloud platform, definitely it should offer all the primary objective, whatever is required. And based on that particular objective, they are in a better position to go through with that overall solution, what is expected, right? So that is something basically what we can think through. Now, the couple of additional objections that can we leverage cloud test in Azure? What kind of options are available for performing monitoring, or what all the database opportunities are there where we can have some sort of analytics or their data warehousing options are available and all. So of course, I mean, this is like a broader perspective what we can keep in mind, and that will help you to understand the overall objective of the problem statement. Now here we will be going through with some particular solution, but before going to the solution, I see like many folks have some particular background with developing with certain kind of solutions with Azure, or I see like a couple of guys are bit new as well. So what is your thought process? Like what kind of services, looking at the problem statement, what kind of services or solutions you think through that will help in terms of working with this entire problem statement? Definitely I'll come back with my problem statement and solution, preferred solution to it, and out of that entire solution what we are planning to cover up is something I'm going to talk about. But uh, I just wanted to hear from you that what is expected and how you guys are think about that is something going to be covered up over here. Any background? What is your thought process? Anyone? What kind of services you think through in terms of modernizing this entire solution, and what is your thought process? Like in case of any services we need to cover, then what's the objective behind the scene? Okay, I see Gobinath says Azure App Service Monitor. Arun says App Service. Rakesh says PaaS Service. Ingestions, ADF, Data Warehouse, Data Breaks, AD Identity. Any specific services which you think that that will be really helpful from the client point of view, which is something you can consider that, hey, if this is the service, if they go ahead with it, then definitely they can modernize and like leverage the platform. Okay, Sheetala says Azure ML service. Rakesh says DevOps app service. Encryption using CMK enabled. Okay, AKS, CI/CD pipeline. Okay, so thanks guys. Jayesh says AKS. Thanks, Jayesh. So what I consider is that, so definitely, I mean, there are multiple services what we can consider in terms of modernizing this platform. Now there are two things. Okay, first option is that definitely if I am planning to go ahead on the path where I wanted to containerize this overall solution, then definitely Docker, Kubernetes in terms of overall orchestration point of view, what we can think through. Azure DevOps, or even Jenkins kind of toolchain, what we can think through to perform a CI/CD pipeline and all. And definitely for deploying applications, we can have certain kind of PaaS services in place. So ultimate goal is that here we will be going through, of course, I mean, in a phase wise, and definitely we will have multiple follow-up webinars as well. So in this particular today's section, what we are planning to cover up is that there are couple of services. So here is the high level solutions, what you can see, where you can consider that. Oops. Here the solution what you can consider is that it will give you a kind of high level objective where a lot of infrastructure will be modernized with the PaaS service. So I will go step by step. I will explain you multiple services. I will take you through with some high-end overview about those services, because definitely covering all the services in depth, definitely within 2 hours, it will be challenging. So what I can consider is that I can give you some high-end overview about respective service, and also we will focus on one particular area, and I'll be showing you a complete demo on that particular thing, that what I have developed, what kind of module we will get it, and how that entire solution is going to be look like in Azure with the PaaS services. Okay. And the question which I have asked like so far, that how we can protect, what kind of options we can have it, how we can integrate that particular web applications with it, and how the entire solution looks like, that is something I'm going to talk about it. Okay. So first of all, usually what happens that when it comes to application modernization, we always need to worry about that how securely enterprise or even client can connect and access this particular application. Because when you connect applications, there are different kind of stakeholders we have it in application, right? Maybe we have sailors are coming in, we have customers are coming in, we have organizational folks who maintain and manage this particular services, so they also need to connect and access this particular solution. So different kind of roles we are expecting to connect and access this particular solutions, right? So we expect them that they go ahead with some secure channel and connect and access the solution. So usually if I'm considering one particular end, that let's say I have a card holder, or I have a customer in place, so usually they will be hitting to couple of services. So one of them is basically a traffic manager. So usually what we need that, I'll give some background about those services, and we'll talk about why this service has been utilized and what is the role of this service in this entire architecture. So it will give you some background, right? So here by name you can make it out that Azure Traffic Manager will give you a kind of solution in terms of routing a particular traffic to the next available solution. Now in architecture world, whenever you design any solution, most of the time people are using some particular core architectural world. They call it as a cold DR, or they call it as an active, or they call it as an active passive solutions or sites we need to which we need to build and deploy it, so that availability of the application or availability of the solutions will be taken care. So in case of my primary region or my one endpoint goes down, then my solution can be leveraged, and the other available site or next closest region where I can redirect my particular request can be available, and I can maintain my particular application stack. Nowadays you see that due to this heavy rain and all, you must have heard that globally different locations are getting like flooded with heavy water logging and all that thing. So you can imagine that in certain kind of situations, if something occurs, then your infrastructure will be at stake, your application will be at stake, right? So you need some sort of workaround, you need certain kind of solutions where you can rely on, you can fail over on that, and then it will be helpful in terms of keep your solution up and running. So here the point is, traffic manager is basically a kind of service which allows you to manage a kind of solution deployment. It will helpful to you, give you a kind of integration between those architectural pattern like cold DR. So cold DR, I mean, I'll give you a simple example like what do you mean by cold DR or active, and then we can quickly move to the further services. So cold DR is like where you can say that only single data center you have, all the applications components are deployed in that, and there is no like alternative available, right? Most of the enterprises, they go for this when they have a budget problem, or they are not having a good financial background, where they are having their solutions up and running on premise, especially because that is definitely, it's a valid point, because of the, you can consider that underneath cost of real estate or their infrastructure may be quite high, and because of that many enterprise avoid to go ahead for the secondary data center. So in case of primary goes down and they realize that this is something not going to come up, they might think about go ahead for another site and start building that particular same solution. That is one thing. Second particular concept is active scenario. So in this case, what is happening, that majority of the solution provider where they have, or enterprise they have, where they consider that particular applications are going to be hosted in specific majorly, you can say, I can say this is something very well possible in cloud, where you can have two different region. Let's assume that East US, West US, or any particular location, and you have your services up and running. So ultimate goal is that traffic manager basically provide you a kind of traffic routing mechanism. It has some built-in methods which helps you to redirect your particular traffic request from the customer or card holder or whoever is requesting. It goes to that specific endpoint. So here I can consider that when it comes to a particular solution to be deployed, when it comes to a particular applications to be up and running and all that, the traffic manager basically hit to a particular secure channel, that is my application gateway or my firewall. Basically you wanted that secure connection. You need people who are connecting and trying to access your particular e-commerce web application. You want a valid traffic, right? You don't want like any hackers like start running some jobs and they are keep on hitting your particular web applications kind of thing and all. So basically you need a kind of solutions where you can securely connect and access the data. So here you can think through about a particular app gateway, which will help you in terms of managing a kind of a simplified way in terms of putting a firewall in front of your web application and filter your HTTP, HTTPS traffic. And you can decide like who can connect and who cannot, kind of filtration also you can apply to it. So it's a kind of it's a kind of like security layer in front of your web application, and you can filter those kind of access throughout the solution what you have, right? So that way you can have a kind of application gateway in place. Now this particular solution, definitely you can put it with the help of a complete secure channel. Now many enterprises prefer that the application can be only accessed via on-premise only, right? They wanted that my application should not access by any public IP, or people who are trying to connect from internet, they are not supposed to connect and access my application. This application is only and only meant for my vendors and sellers, or for my organization, right? They call it as a line of business application as well. So in that case they prefer that my application should be hosted in specific secure network, right? So here Azure uh, also supports a kind of app service environment where you can have a virtual network to be configured, and your particular enterprise can have extending their secure connectivity to their particular PaaS services as well. Ultimately we are aware of that infrastructure services only can be behind of network, but with the help of a couple of new modern latest and greatest feature of PaaS services, we can protect our web app with some sort of private environment as well. So here you can say that my e-commerce web application, my call center web application, and in case of any particular API app which is something need to be accessed or need to be connected for my solution, definitely I can keep it behind the scene, and only the valid and authorized access will be given to them, and then they can connect and access those particular services. So ultimate goal is that from the Azure front, you have certain secure environment to be given, and then you can up and running with the solution the way it is expected out of the box, right? Now in this scenario, once the web application is in place, we do have certain additional services where we are going to take an example, or we are going to take a scenario as in demo today, where we are going to cover up a particular web application integration. If you see over here, there we have a storage services where we have a particular database in place, and we will be connecting this particular services with our secure connectivity and all. Of course, I have not highlighted one component, which is we're going to take a look at it in our discussion. That is something Azure Key Vault, which is something going to be integrated between this particular integration. So here I can consider that usually the component of this entire application what we are considering, they all are kind of PaaS component. So in terms of managing basically a connection, in terms of uh, in terms of uh, in terms of connecting and managing kind of activity. So this is something what we are going through, is that which we gonna plan in a way that which we gonna plan in a way that, let's say I wanted to create a particular scalable solution for my ETL processes. So people who are coming from data background, you must have heard about ETL process. So just for people who are not familiar with it, for them it's an extract, transform and load kind of ETL processes, right? So when you think about like big data solutions and also, if you see this piece is basically majorly focused on my particular data warehousing, where you can have your particular database, you have your Azure Synapse Analytics, which allows you to perform some analysis processes on top of it, and you have a particular Azure Data Factory, which allows you to automate your particular data pipeline, as in the way we have our CI/CD pipeline for our application code and all. Something similar to that, you can have some sort of Azure Data Factory, which gives you certain kind of automation with your CI/CD pipeline and all. Now, ultimate goal is that in this entire solution, definitely the problem statement what is given in terms of modernizing the infrastructure. So definitely the web app can be deployed along with Azure DevOps, where we can host it into web app. We can have a backend service which are up and running as in call center web API, and the standalone offer API, which may allow a particular Conteso to keep on publishing any new offer when they are planning to release for their particular business application and all that. So kind of options they can plan and they can offer behind the scene with the help of that particular application. It's a kind of, you can say, a centralized, a full-fledged, you can say, e-commerce portal, which is something developed, and we can have a kind of complete solution end to end up and running. Now here there are a couple of objections or the requirement which is highlighted, right? So one of them is like basically automating the SMS process. So here uh, Azure Logic App, Azure Logic App basically give you a kind of option where you can think through that it will be a kind of workflow orchestration, where you can say that it will give you a kind of scenario that in case of any particular solution what you are expecting, then in particular you can say a step by step activity. Say for example, let's say I wanted I wanted like pick up the message or pick up the email from my particular order customer who have placed it, or maybe the seller who is basically the seller of that particular product. Pick up that particular information, and they can have certain kind of solutions where uh, the step-by-step activity will be performed. So it will pick up the email, it will format that particular email message, and then it will go to send the particular standard email to that respective component or respective users or respective sellers, whoever it is at the back end. So basically the expectation is that we can have certain kind of overall objective where we can automate this particular entire process. So here the Logic App basically give you that workflow orchestration. So in case of automating your particular task, then you can have certain kind of activity in particular place, right? Now behind the scene in this particular logic app, definitely you can have certain kind of event driven activity, which is something taken care by Azure Functions. So here we can consider that basically this will give you a kind of options where you can think through that. Let's say I wanted to create some particular PDF. Let's say somebody has processed the order. I just wanted to generate an invoice for them. I wanted to give them a particular product details and all those particular information into generated in invoice. Or maybe I just wanted to send some particular notification to my admin as well, that hey, something occurs in my system, or some failure is there, or some successful transaction is there, or those kind of internal activity I wanted to process. So in that case, definitely I can have some particular event driven activity to be taken care, and it will helpful to me in terms of triggering that particular activity end to end. So it will be a kind of overall objective where you can say that Azure will give you those kind of like interactive component, and that is something what you can leverage throughout the solution what you need, right? Apart from this, whenever you need particular customer or particular vendor authentication, definitely we can have some sort of AAD B2C. So here what we can consider that. So let's say I wanted my players to purchase the sports merchandise, and I want them to utilize any social media platform account to connect and access my particular applications, right? So they can simply go ahead and perform this particular activity with the help of B2C, where you can bring your social media platform, be it Facebook, be it Twitter or Microsoft, or any social media platform accounts you can bring in, and then they can connect and authenticate themselves, and then they can purchase those particular merchandise from this particular sites as well. So ultimate goal is that when it comes to modernizing the entire application stack, definitely we can think about variety of services which will helpful to you in terms of modernizing those particular element, where you can simply go ahead and configure that, hey, I wanted my particular component to be I don't want like a lot of monitoring. I don't want a lot of operational activity to be taken care by myself. So in certain scenario, definitely Azure will give you a kind of handy solutions and tools in place, right? So definitely there are some core component of this particular problem statement which helps me to solve the entire use case. Whereas, as I mentioned that in this entire problem statement, we are going to majorly focus on web app, which is something we are going to connect with one of the database. Okay, we are going to connect with one of the messaging services. It could be storage queue, it could be service bus queue, and also we are going to utilize a particular storage service, securely connecting that particular application with our storage services with our application, right? And all that particular activity we wanted to perform with the help of our key vault services and all that. So that is one of the tool which will help us, or services which will help us in terms of centralized key management services or vault management services out of the box into the cloud. Now many of you guys have highlighted that you can utilize a particular on-premise key vault service or any third-party service provider provided key vault services and all that, right? So they are basically either you have to manage it, or you will be taking care of that particular key vault management, right? In case of, let's say, imagine that if that key vault service goes down where you are managing that, so what is the alternative? How you guys manage that particular activity? Any guess? What is your thought process? How that will be taken care? What is your guess about how the basically when you say like I just wanted to I'm using my particular keys in a centralized vault, what is the best way of disaster recovery solution for that key vault? In case of that key vault service goes down, do you see that your service goes down, or do you see that if it is not working at all, or what is the alternative you think about to bring that key vault service up and connecting and authentication your services to be up and running? Any solution or any thought process you guys have think through? Surendra says, why your diagram showing two PDF storage? So basically, one will be the primary one, where it is something you can say it is storing the primary data where your read write operations are happening. And this is the secondary one, which is something redundant, or you can say replication is happening from primary to secondary. So in case if my primary goes down, then I can connect and access my data from my secondary as well. So it's a kind of like primary secondary alternative. So when we say if I want to go ahead with my resiliency solutions to be provided, then based on that there will be a two storage like replica is happening behind the scene. Okay, so Surendra says transform one data to another data from is ETL job. Not from one data to another data, but it is more about transforming one format to another format, or make it normalized for some further visualization kind of. Shankar says if not recover from DB configuration. Okay. Tarun says using recovery vault service, we can restore the backup from Azure Key Vault. Yeah, of course. So Tarun, that is what I'm trying to ask. That if it's a Azure, then definitely you have a solution. But if Azure is not there, a lot of people have highlighted that they were using some third party or any other particular vault services. So I just wanted to hear out that what is the alternative. I mean, in case if anything goes down on premise, how that particular key vault service you recover from. Yes, Jayesh, absolutely. That is the feature of Azure Key Vault, and that is exactly I wanted to highlight over here. But before that, I just wanted to hear from people that what is the alternative you guys were using for making sure that your application key vault or your secrets will be up and running all the time, and they will be available to you in terms of mapping with your application and accessing them. Okay, so here usually what I can suggest is that majority of the enterprises, or probably if it's on premise, then definitely you have to think about alternatives, or maybe you need to create cluster kind of environment on premise, and making sure that at least you can have some sort of availability of your particular application or your particular services to be available, right? So that way you can have some sort of like activity to be thought about it. Now in this scenario, what we are planning to cover up, so here is my outcome, here is my solution, what I'm planning to cover up in this entire problem statement. So what we're going to do is that we're going to have this particular Conteso Sports League as in web application. We are planning to showcase our particular product catalog from our particular storage services and showcase them in our web app. Now to do this, we are going to follow this particular 4-step of activity. I mean, right now it is highlighted in very high level, but I'll explain this particular in detail and we'll take you through that what all the activities we are planning to cover up. Okay, so without wasting time, let me go back to my OneNote and let me go through with drawing this particular entire architecture, and then we will talk about that what we are going through in this particular solution out of the box, right? Now usually whenever we need any particular objective to be taken care, then we can have a particular single web app to be deployed. So what I'm planning to cover up over here is that I will be going through with my particular here I can say uh, e-commerce web app. So that will be a particular my application which is I'm planning to host on top of the Azure App Services. So that will be my particular component. Correct. So that will help me in terms of building and hosting my particular application up and running into the cloud. So now you can imagine that the Conteso application, which is something required a particular product catalog, then definitely we think about certain kind of storage services, certain kind of a kind of data endpoint, right? So usually we can consider that if I'm looking at certain kind of like storage services, then definitely I may have my database. Okay, I can have my, oops, so I can have my particular database with NoSQL attribute. I can have my particular, you can say, a kind of a storage entity. I'm just using some random config. So here I can say this could be my, so that will be my particular storage services. And last but not least, I'll be looking certain kind of messaging services which will helpful to me in terms of sending and receiving certain kind of informations or communication between the services. So I just need like straightforward options for my kind of services. So maybe I'll just say some drawing, right? So I can have my particular messaging services. Now, basically, the point over here is that when we have our particular solutions to be up and running, so how that particular entire web application is going to connect and access my particular services out of the box, and that will be helpful to me in terms of taking care of that entire activity. So here I can consider that when we have our particular web applications in place, we are going to create a particular a middleware or probably a kind of vault as a service in place, which will helpful to me in terms of connecting and accessing my particular services. So my web application is going to connect my Azure Key Vault as a service. Okay, and along with this Azure Key Vault services, what I'm planning to cover is that, so usually what happened that when you have your application, you don't want that application to be directly accessed by your database or something, right? You just wanted you wanted to make sure that it should be accessed via some secure channel, right? So basically we wanted to store our secrets, we wanted to store our certificates and all. So here Azure Key Vault allows you to store your key, it will allow you to store your secrets, it will allow you to store certificates, right? And variety of activities in terms of storage. Now in this particular centralized particular storage, what we are expecting is that this particular data or this information will be only accessible via my admin person. So usually what happened that you need, if it's a organization point of view, and developer, administrator, a lot of people are working together in that particular consideration, right? So what you need is that your developer should have only access to the API or to the some sort of key, which is something accessed via the key vault. They should not have direct access to my particular connection string of my database, connection string of my storage activity, and my service bus, so on. So the expectation is that when such kind of activity I am expecting from my resources, what I'm looking at it that if I have my particular database, let me highlight all of three and then I'll go through one by one. I'll just do some particular arrangement for my objects. And last but not least, the element which I simply want my application to be connect and access my particular storage connection string and all. So here I'll be considering that uh, service bus queue connection string. That is something what I wanted to connect and access from here. Oops, I'll be adding other component where I need my storage account connection string. Correct. So that is something what I wanted to go for. And here I can say SQL DB connection string. So this is something what I'm expecting, that this data to be configured and mapped with my particular Azure connection string. Sorry, Azure keyword. So the advantage over here is that when we have this particular services to be configured, then securely this particular component to be accessed and retrieved into my application, so that in case if my application get compromised or any particular unusual activity occurs to this, then definitely being a admin, you have a complete access, you have a complete control in your hand, where you can simply go ahead and modify this particular configuration any point of given time. You can modify particular connection string any point of given time, right? So here I'll explain it like what all the different connection string options are available, which will helpful to you in terms of rotating, right? So basically there is an option where you can say that each connection string or each particular services are coming up where there are certain alternative connection strings are available. So in case if you have a primary connection string, you can change it to secondary string, and that way at least being an administrator you can keep on rotating and all, right? Now in this particular case, what I have done is that I have provisioned couple of services. I'll take you through even portal as well, and I'll show you that what all the activities required and what all the objective we have uh, gone through over here, right? So that is something I'll be highlight, and that is something we will be going through with that particular overall activity into the portal, right? So any query questions so far? What is your understanding, what is your thought process in terms of considering this particular component? Amit Kumar says, I will recording this session. Yes, Amit, it is getting recorded and you guys will get access to it. Yes, Sumit, we will get recording at the end of the session. But yeah, any queries, questions? Did you guys came across such kind of requirement that you need to, or maybe you end up facing issue where you have shared your connection string to your directly to your developer, and sometimes you realize that hey, things get compromised and your data at risk? Or do you see that when applications are getting developed, the specifically the keys are getting hard coded into the application code, and that will be one of the biggest risk if you see in terms of modern application world, right? So do you feel that such kind of incidents you have faced, or any challenges you have think through? And do you feel that is this particular small piece of that key vault as in solution uh, will helpful to you or make sense in terms of protecting certain kind of key area of connection strings, making sure the integration of your application with the database or your storage or your service bus? So what I'm trying to highlight over here is that this is one of the centralized place where we are going to capture our particular connection string. This will become a kind of centralized vault for me, and I can have all that particular component will be captured behind the scene, right? Jay says writing a wrapper to fetch the key from key vault via RBAC. Okay, absolutely. So this is one of the solution where we can say that. So there are two piece of it, right? One is basically being a particular, you can say, infrastructure organization, or maybe when you are managing that particular component, definitely you will be having a valid access, whether you will be owner or contributor kind of access, and then you will be managing that particular services out of the box. But let's say being a developer, if I am connecting and trying to access that, then definitely you need a kind of SDK driven access. You need a kind of mapping of those particular keyword configurations within your app config, because usually we map our connection strings in our web config or in our POM file and all that, so that we can securely connect and access them, right? So there will be some API key or something we integrate in our particular application and all. So ultimate goal is that one of the objective is to map those particular connection string into the system, and from there we will be accessing this particular services securely, right? So the way I have highlighted that, I'll be having my particular database, I'll be having my storage service, I'll be having my I'll be having my particular solution as in service bus. All that particular thing we will be covering, and will show you that how the entire activity looks like and what is the objective behind the scene, right? So that is something what we are going to cover up. Just a second. So in this particular solution, when you consider that, so one of the criteria is that uh, you can consider that. So let me go back to the Azure services, and that will helpful to you understand how the entire objective looks like. Yeah. So when it comes to any particular infrastructure stack, so what is the background behind that? How we can manage, and the app services point of view. So the way you guys have a question that where we can configure, how we can configure, how the entire keyword service is going to be look like, and all that thing, right? So here is my particular services where you can say that I have configured a couple of predefined component over here, where you can say web app is there. I have particular keyword services. I have configured my provision my database, storage services, service bus, and all that thing. So here what we are going to do is that what we need to cover up is that the configuration section, and I'll show you what all the places I have done that configuration, so everybody will get idea, and you will have some particular clear visibility that in case of any of this particular services you need to take care, then what is the best way to go for it, right? So here I can consider that. So if you see, I have my particular entire structure where I have given the name as in hands-on like lab kind of, and under that resource group I have a couple of services configured, like let's say app configuration, application insight, Contoso, like app service plan, service bus, web app, database, storage services, Azure keyword services. All that things are in place, right? So here uh, basically the objective of this particular activity is to give you some background where you can understand that how this particular configuration looks like and how we can implement that particular solution out of the box. Now, three services we will touch base on one by one, uh, where what we're gonna do is that I'll show you. So first of all, three services. First of all, we will be connecting with our application. So here I have a particular database, which is something Cosmos Sports DB, which is something I wanted my product information or any other particular information which is expected into the solution is something I'm going to cover up. So first option, we need a particular database connection string. Now to secure your database, there are two activities. Being a developer, you need this particular database to be accessed via secure channel and all, right? That is one thing. And second thing is via application. You need to connect that particular application connection string, and that way it will be helpful to you, right? So here what we're gonna do is that connection point of view, I'll go to my connection string, and here is my particular standard connection string which I copy paste and I have taken in my uh, text edit where I'll be using it. I have captured that particular my connection string into the system. Second thing is that you need a particular database to be accessed securely. So in my particular firewall rule, I need to make sure that my client IP of my local development will be mapped and it will get access behind the scene. That is one thing. Uh, Apart from this, we have talked about a particular storage account. So here is my particular storage account where my product catalog. So whatever the images are getting uploaded. So in my particular slide deck where I have showed you that there will be a product catalog and images will be uploaded. So definitely we need a particular containers, and inside that containers or inside the particular storage or wherever it is, we just need certain kind of data to be hosted. We need certain kind of application data to be stored behind the scene, right? So I need my particular storage connection string. So usually when you build applications, definitely you have a storage account access key and all. So I have captured my access key as well, which is something we're going to use it for our application. And the third last thing is my service bus. So service bus, basically here we are going to use a particular queue service. So queue service is going to helpful in terms of connecting and accessing your particular messaging services out of the box, and that will give you certain kind of connectivity or certain kind of activity behind the scenes. So here I have created my queue storage, and with this particular queue storage I have my particular access policy also given, that when somebody is trying to publish any new order or new particular purchase order into the system, I just wanted to send a message to my backend system and people can connect and access them securely. So here I have defined a queue message access policy. That is something in a send, that when somebody place an order, it will trigger the message and then order will go to that respective backend system, right? So that is something we wanted to connect. And of course, I mean, in that particular case, definitely we need a particular secure connection string also to be accessed and all. So I have captured all three connection string into my system, which is something we are going to utilize and we're going to integrate in our particular configuration system, whatever we expected. So just for time saving, I have kept those particular information pre-configured so that I can explain and I can help you out what all the things we need to do. Now, in this case, Azure Key Vault as a service will be provisioned in the system, and this key vault service is something allowing you a different kind of settings to be taken care. So for example, you can have your keys to be captured, you can have your secrets to be captured, you can have your certificates or any access policies or any private links, which is something you wanted to securely connect and access to your system, is something what we can think through. Now in this our particular kind of application requirement, we are going through with the secrets because majority of the connection strings and other things are part of it. So whenever I wanted to capture my particular secrets, definitely I'll go to generate and import section, and underneath I need to configure a particular activity, right? So in my case right now, definitely, I mean, I'll just show you this what is required, but I have already configured all three of them. I'll take you through one by one, but the expectation is that first thing in place, you can have a name of that particular element. So you can simply set up that particular name of the configuration key. You can also have the value. So value could be your connection string, value could be your key value, which is something hold by these particular configuration, which will helpful to you in terms of accessing this particular services securely, right? So the advantage is that here the value, as soon as you paste anything, that will be formed into a secret key, so you do not have straightforward visibility about this particular key value and all. So in case being an administrator, you have access to this key vault, you can keep on rotating this key, and you can securely access or allow access of this services to the developer, and they can securely connect and access this service, right? So what I have done in this entire solution, I have configured three elements to it. One is my queue connection string, which allows me to access my service bus. I have configured my sports league connection string, which allows me to access my database. And see, the advantage is that it will get completely encrypted. Okay. So, I mean, you will not be able to like straightforward view it in first view into the portal, and there will be simple particular URL given to you in terms of connecting and accessing this particular key separately, right? So that is something like built in into the system, so definitely you can protect that specific environment. So something similar to that, service bus, the database, and as well as the storage account connection string is something encrypted. So the advantage is that the Azure Key Vault as a service available in cloud. Now many enterprises prefers to work on premise, or they try to deploy a particular they try to deploy particular, you can say, key vault services on premise, and they try to, or sometimes they struggle to manage that key vault services as well. So or else they might have to go ahead with some cluster environment and take care of a lot of activities manually. So here the advantage is that Azure Key Vault as a service will give you a kind of advantage to play around with the services. Definitely you can have a kind of like storage into primary region of your key vault, and at the same time key vault will allow you a disaster recovery kind of built-in feature, where your primary region can have a disaster in secondary region, and you can restore your particular keys any point of given time. So in case of your primary region goes down, then it will allows you to like have your keys available in secondary region, and make sure the authentication or access or secure connectivity with your backend system will be taken care behind the scene. So advantage is that it will be a kind of centralized key management service, and you can definitely take care of variety of activities. And definitely this has to be accessed by admin or super admin, or maybe you can say who all are like kind of responsible folks who all are managing those kind of keys into the organization or in system, right? So you can get that particular centralized component where you can promote all these particular informations, configure them, and store it into the system securely. Now once the key vault mapping is done, the excess what is expected from the services point of view, right? So here there's a configuration management service we have gone through, which is something we can call it as an app configuration. That is something element we have configured, and with this app configuration we will be going through with something called configuration explorer, which is something allowing me to connect and access my mapping or connection what I have established is something what I need to go through. Of course, I mean there are some configurations at application level also, because end of the day your application is going to map with this configuration management, and configuration management is going to connect with my key vault services, and key vault service is going to allow me to connect my particular storage devices whatever I have, right? So if you can see, the layers has been added, the configuration management has been created, and ultimately you have a secure pipeline or secure channel to be established towards your storage services and all, right? So this is like a kind of, you can say, scalable development concepts, where you don't need to share informations with developer or any irrespective stakeholders. You can have a fine grained secure configuration management and security management of your keys and connection strings into the system, right? Now here if you see, I have added like key vault preferences. So the advantage over here is that the configuration explorer, definitely it will allow you to take care of your key vault as in service, and whatever the configuration management we have done is something straightforward visible into your system. And the advantage is that it will get configured as in app service. So behind the scene in your code, you will have secure access to this particular configuration management, and your web app will securely access this particular connection strings and the information which is expected into your system, right? So we can go through with them, and then you can add all of them one by one into the system. So what I have done is that I have added my hidden value, or you can say my configuration value from my particular key vault, and that is something updated over here. So right now it shows that it's an hidden value, and in case if I just wanted to add it, modify or anything, I can do so, and it will allow me to change and modify the information which is expected into the system. So going forward in future, if you think that any keys are getting changed or you need to rename that particular property and edit later stage, you can do so. So it's not that one time activity. You get flexibility in terms of modifying this information, and any point of time you can change this particular informations, right? So it's not that it's a rigid component that it will not allow you to modify the configurations, and it can be extended to any application development environment the way you expect, right? So here I do have my key vault, I do have my configuration management, where combining all of them, I have my applications to be developed and deployed in my one of the virtual machines. So I have kept my VM up and running. Okay. And inside that particular VM, right now, I mean, of course, I do have a complete solution up and running, which is something taking care of, let's say, payment gateway, or maybe some sort of some shared informations between API and my web applications. Or there's another project where I have my web app, which considers that admin panel, which considers that a front end, or even a scalable function app, which is something going to connect and access my particular additional services and all that, so that in case of any event driven activity which I wanted to process and all, how can I perform those activity and all. So here the concept what we are going to cover up is that I do have my particular application in place, and out of this we are going to focus on our web project, and inside that particular web project we'll have our program.cs, right, where we need certain kind of entities to be added, NuGet packages and other stuff we need to bring it. Now in this entire application there are two elements I wanted to focus. One is basically definitely identity, and second is in case of my configuration manager, right? Because end of the day in my application we need that configuration explorer extension to be accessed, correct? So how you gonna do that? That is something you will be able to doing it via Microsoft extension configuration. So this particular package, it may be possible, may not be straightforward available into your application, so you may end up adding them as in managed NuGet packages, right? So right now I'm just trying to show you in a .NET framework, but something similar to that you can develop with Java as well, where you can have a POM file, you can have your configurations, and you can have some application driven extension to be mapped with your application, and you can have your application variables and parameters to be mapped, so that in case any configuration needs to be changed or modify any point of given time, you can do so, right? So here there are two packages I have installed. So one of them is Azure Identity, which allows me to configure my SDK driven access towards my identity services, right? So that is something giving me to connect and access. And second is my configuration manager. So this particular package will helpful to me in terms of connecting and accessing my particular configuration management into the system. Now the majority of code change, of course, I mean, this application is completely developed with those required assets and whatever the element is required, so I'm not going in that detail. But my major consideration is that how we gonna refer to our app config. So here if you see, here is my particular piece of code which is something focused on that specific area. So here if you see, let me little bit maximize this. So if you see that The web builder, where you have configuration application, which is something referring to my config, which I have already, that web config, what we have configured, where connection strings and other stuffs are part of it. And here we are planning to access our connection string from the app config. That is what the parameter I just wanted to make sure that it is something accessing from my configure key vault parameter, is something provided by the configuration management, and it allows me to access into my system. So this is definitely, it's an, so a lot of people, a lot of developer has a confusion that how can I connect Azure Key Vault via SDK, right? So here is the answer, that you can have a app configuration mapped with your particular key vault, and through programming you will be calling the REST API or the SDK of that particular key vault services, and which allow you to connect and access your configuration string or connection string from that particular property. So it's a map. So if you observe, there is no straightforward access to my particular connection string, and it is via the key vault services what we have mapped in our app configuration behind the scene, right? Now, once this particular package has been updated, definitely I need to make sure that I import them into my system, my extension to the configuration and identity. So this two packages is required to run this entire solution. And to be more precise, we just need to deploy this particular application. So deployment point of view, definitely, I mean, you can have your Azure subscription in place, you need your Azure web app to be created, and at the end you can publish this entire application to that platform services and all that. Now, to demo this particular activity, what I'm looking at it, that I'm planning to simply showcase that which we are going to cover up, that this application going to be published as an web app. It is going to be hosted with some app service plan, and before doing that we'll just explore the app service plan as well, and then we will move into that it goes to the right direction. So in my resource group, we will have a Conteso app as well, and the advantage is that this entire solution, if it's up and running into the cloud, here if you see, there are some specific app service plan being configured. So that is my S1 service tier. So Azure service offers a different kind of app service plan. Just to give you a quick overview about it. So here if you see, Microsoft comes up with some different service plan where you can build and host your solution, right? So if you see, like dev test point of view, you may have free, shared, basic and all. So let's say you're a beginner in Azure, right? And you just wanted to explore this PaaS service offer. You can just simply go ahead with free tier, and Microsoft offers 10 free web app to be hosted in cloud. So till the time your Azure subscription is up, you will get access to this particular to this particular free tier, and your web applications are up and running. Of course, I mean, availability and other stuff will be definitely, it's an question, but you will get your applications to be up and running into the system, and you can connect and access that particular solution the way it is expected. Now, ultimate objective behind the scene is that Azure front, it will allow you to deploy your applications with your desired app service plan. Now, the expectation which was highlighted in a problem statement, that resiliency required, right? At least minimum 2 server to be up and running, and in case of any scalability required, we can set up some business rule so that my scalability also will be taken care. So application front, we have scale up and scale out features, where being a solution provider, we can configure our scalability behind the scenes. So definitely we have all the possible metrics given. So for example, I want, like, okay, my CPU usage of my web app goes 60% and greater, or 75% greater, then definitely spin up 2 more servers or 1 more server kind of thing and all. So all that metrics you can apply. Even you can add, like a lot of people say that, hey, there is a sports event going on, right? Right now, let's say if you see the World Olympic is going on, and we wanted that during that Olympic period, a lot of people try to purchase sports merchandise. So I wanted, like, this 20 days or 1 month time, I want highly scalable web app plan. So definitely you can have certain kind of metrics to be set up, and for that time period you can have scalable solutions to be up and running, right? So the advantage is that from the modern application platform front, you need a kind of platform which helps certain kind of activity, and you can have a complete scalable solutions to be up and running, right? So here you can plan that particular activity, and you can have certain kind of solutions to be up and running. Now the last step over here is that I just wanted to make sure that I'll publish my application and everything is up and running into the system. So definitely when you click on publish, it required certain kind of configuration, and those configuration towards the web app and all. So for example, I do have my resource group, I do have my particular services are in place. So I need to select those particular attributes when you are going through with that publish element. And finally, when you click on publish, it will start pushing your application code. It will start compiling the package what you are planning to push it. It will extract whatever the application configurations and whatever the like DLLs and other stuff which is something required, even along with the frameworks and everything is something given over here. So definitely it will completely process that particular activity and publish it into the Azure. So your web application is successfully up and running with that particular configuration. Now, as I said that right now, I have not implemented full-fledged functionality. So that's the reason I'm covering only 3 elements, where connecting your storage account, connecting your database, connecting your particular service bus queue, all of those particular securely behind the scene with the help of my particular web application. So here, let me open this particular web application from my normal view as well. So here is my URL, and the app is up and running. So you can visualize that a simple web application is configured. If I go to my store and shopping cart, so I see my couple of products which we have highlighted into the system, right? So it shows me the overall product catalog to be made available into the overall system. So ultimate goal is that when you are planning certain kind of solution, certain kind of development, then here we can have a kind of objective to play around with the solution, and then we can showcase certain kind of activity behind the scene. Make sense? So here you can consider that the data or the information which is coming up, it is completely, I mean, you can say secure enough in terms of solution front. And my application is something accessing my particular data throughout the life cycle behind the scene with the help of my key vault service, and whatever the objective we have talked about is something taken care with the help of it, right? So it will give you certain kind of standard objective where uh, the solution is something we can consider that it will be available in terms of securely connecting your Azure keyword service with NoSQL or SQL database, or you can say a particular storage services or service bus queue, and all of their secure connection strings and other stuff will be part of my key vault, and it is going to be accessed in my particular web application, right? So that, having said that, that is something like pretty much straightforward connectivity. So ultimate goal is that from the solution front, what we have discussed so far, right? Of course, I mean, it's a partial solution, it's not complete solution, but yeah, I mean, I do have that complete solution as well. So definitely we can have some follow-up webinars as well, where we can see that in case of any other further additional activity. So right now we have covered up the key vault section, right? How that entire key vault solution is going to be integrated in your entire application, and you can implement so that secure SDK driven solutions to be built up. Now going forward, let's say in case of I wanted to send a email notification, I wanted to send a kind of integration with my backend. So what is the best way to take care of it? How the integration going to be taken care and all that. So in such solution or in such particular activity, we can definitely have that end-to-end activity to be covered up, right? So ultimate goal, if I go back to my particular discussion, so we have covered up point number 1, where we have created and configured Azure Key Vault for storing secrets, right? So definitely we have stored our particular different connection string. That is my database connection string, my storage connection string, and service bus connection string. So definitely they all have some unique key associated with that, and that key is something map in my configuration manager, right? So that is something goes to my particular app configuration, and it is something map in my web application code via the extension package, right? So that will help me to connect and access them so that I can securely retrieve my particular key vault services and all. And finally, we have deployed our web application so that we can view the specific product catalog at the end of that entire solution, what is going on. Yeah. So any queries, questions so far? Okay, so here I can see Piali Santra says we can use SES instead of directly accessing connection string from keyword. So accessing SES key, definitely that is one of the solution, but I can say that the objective of SES key is to provide access for time being, or maybe you can say some sort of like kind of connection which I wanted to define with some time boundary or something like that. Maybe in that certain kind of scenario I can think through about it, but if I'm looking at persistent values and secret values to be captured and stored, definitely this is something what I can plan. Sanjeev says that key vault is a good idea, but in this solution, you can't get full compliance with European schemes, regulations. So all these connection strings, keys and secret needs to be stored somewhere out of Azure. It depends. I mean, if definitely the compliance is the requirement, then definitely many enterprises perform this kind of activity where they do go ahead and plan certain alternatives so that they can recover from that compliance regularity as well. But definitely, I mean, wherever is the compliance requirement, definitely need to be followed. But in alternative, if the criteria is to capture and store data or services or connection string into the system or along with the Azure keyword services, then definitely is something you can have that particular component to be covered up. Okay, how developer can connect SQL database using Ssms if things are stored in a key vault? So if developer wants to connect with Ssms, then definitely you will get a database connection string, and as well as maybe you can have Windows authentication or AD authentication in that case, right? Whereas the current key vault access or feature which I'm talking about, the application front, where I have my application which supposed to connect and access securely to my database and all that, then this is one of the best way in terms of we can connect and access that particular solution out of the box. Correct. So in that case, if you are basically a kind of SSMS guy, then definitely you will have some Windows authentication or AD authentication, and then you can connect and access that. Naveen says only drawback with Key Vault is when we disable and re-enable Vault is no longer showing. So in general, absolutely, I mean, it is something more about when you say enable disable. So usually I think it's more about configuration point of view, and maybe the cost point of view. You might be thinking about enabling, disabling, but yeah, it is a. I mean, assumption is that if you enable, disable, then whatever the previous key has been stored, it maybe you just need to rephrase it or reconfigure it. It could be possibility that something went wrong and you just wanted to disable it. So probably that could be one of the scenario you can think through. Okay, Surendra says, yes, Memcache also we can use. Yeah. Any specific questions, queries so far? Okay, let me go a little bit up and see if. Okay, Gautam says that how about the cache database like Redis? So Redis cache and all definitely you can utilize, which is something allowing you to capture and store kind of a local data with the help of Redis engine, right? But end of the day, when you want to store it somewhere into your storage, then definitely you need a secure connectivity and integration or access them. I think that is what your question, or you are asking that how we can connect and access Redis cache with even Key Vault as well. Is that the question, Gautam? So if you have any follow-up questions or any queries, please feel free to go for that. And as I mentioned that at the end of the session, so people who will be part of it, so I'll be sharing a particular quiz link with all of you, and that basically the link will give you access to connect and retrieve the what do you say, that specific quiz. So lucky three winner will get access to, or will be prize distribution. So you will get access to this particular link till 12 p.m. today, and before that you guys need to finish this particular quiz. So there's a link shared in your chat window, if you can take a look at it in your comment section. So if you guys are accessing via YouTube or Facebook or LinkedIn, you all three have that particular link available in place. So just take a look at it and connect with that particular quiz. And yeah, I think as I said that this particular quiz will be available up till 12 p.m. So lucky three winner will get a particular book material at the end of that particular lucky draw, and rest of the folks, as I mentioned, that you will get access 25% discount to pack publishing book. And if you guys are planning to purchase anything from the data side, definitely you can go for that as well. Yeah. So any further questions or queries, I'm here, and in case any questions you have, definitely I'll take it. uh Kopal, you there if you want to take it from here?
Yes, Shiva. Yes, Jigar, I am there. So thank you so much, Jigar. Thank you for the wonderful session. Thanks a lot. So I am sure that you guys have enjoyed the session, and your most of the questions has been answered by Jigar, as I see that he has been picking up the questions that has been put by you guys, and he's been helping out with the answers. And also, as Jigar mentioned, so please, the link has been shared on the chat window. Please go through that quiz, try to complete that in 1.5 hours time, and then we will be announcing the winners of that quiz soon. So just to give you again a quick input, just to give you a quick, I would say, let you know about the series of webinars that, as Tech Scalable is coming up with a Tech Edge series of webinars in the near future. So give you an insight on that. So we have few webinars which has been announced. So on July 27th, we are coming up with build, deploy, and scale ML model faster with Vertex AI on Google Cloud. Then on August 3rd, we will be coming up with building and deploying a cloud native application with Azure services. Then August 12th, we will be coming up with Kubeflow scaling and deploying machine learning models using Kubernetes toolkit for production. And August 24th, we will be having ML Ops automate and accelerate machine learning lifecycle. So these are the four webinars which has been planned in the near future. Would request you guys, if you can take out the time, do join us. This would give you more insight on, as these speakers will be covering up the topics in depth. So would give more exposure to you guys. And well, thank you so much everyone for joining in for today's webinar. And if still you guys have any questions, you're most welcome to put that up in a chat window. So Jigar is still here with us. We still have, I would say, approximately 10 more minutes. So, guys, please feel free to ask any questions that you have in mind. So, we are here to help you out. And also, you guys are most welcome to contact us on this number in case if you want to know more on our trainings, that what all trainings we have planned, what all batches we are coming up with in future. If you need any information regarding the webinar, any questions around that, you're most welcome to reach out to us on this number 9731705961, or you are most welcome to write us back on sales at techscalable.com. Once again, I say, in case if you guys have any questions around any of the trainings, or you guys are interested in investing time in learning with Tech Scalable, do feel free to reach out to us on 9731705961, or write us back on sales at techscalable.com. We'll be more than happy to assist you guys. So Jigar is
Okay.
still with us, guys. Any
Yeah.
questions? Please do
Yeah.
feel free to ask.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll pick one question from Nikita. Can you please discuss about role-based certification pathway? So, definitely, from the role-based certification, Microsoft is offering a variety of certifications, which includes like cloud administrator or developer, associate admin, associate developer, or you can say a kind of advanced certificate from or expert certification where you can have solution architect or DevOps expert as well. So here, basically, there are a couple of pathways what you can consider. Let me quickly show you over here. So maybe you can say that there will be a particular role-based certification. So I can consider that there will be a certification of AZ104, that is implementing Azure solutions, or you can say administration point of view as well. You also have a particular pathway in terms of developer front, which is something more about AZ204 developing Azure solutions, right? So uh, that is something, a particular standard certification, which is something fall into the category of associates. Okay, whereas if you are planning to go ahead with the advanced one later stage, then there is a particular certification track which you can think through about AZ 303 and AZ 304 solution architect. Right, so combining this two particular certification, definitely you will become a kind of certified architect. Now, in this case, I can consider that both the certifications. Okay, I mean, irrespective whether it's a certification from implementing solutions from infra point of view, that also being a infra person, you can also achieve this particular architecture pathway, and at the same time being a developer also, you can simply go ahead. Oops, there is some issue with this arrow. Being a certified developer also, you can target or you can plan a kind of a certification from the what do you say, associate to administration, either administration or associate developer to solution architect as well. So this is something later stage what you can plan, but from the developer front, what kind of role you are playing. So these are some common standard role-based certification. But other than that, if you are looking at AI/ML or data point of view, any certifications and all that, then definitely you can look around. It's a vast certification chain where you can say DP100, DP200, or those kind of certification tracks are there. Definitely we can plan something around understanding on a webinar, probably on understanding on entire role based certification as well, or maybe a small piece of that particular certification which give you some hand idea that what all the certification tracks are there from AI/ML, from data point of view, from general practice point of view. Like let's say if you're coming as a developer or infra person and you just wanted to become a certified in so and so track, then how you can progress further. So definitely there are variety of certifications are available. So definitely you can address them and you can have those valid certification in your bucket. So that really helps in that particular case. Gautam says, can we go directly with AZ 303, 304? Definitely, Gautam, you can do so. But my advice is that if you have some background prior to AZ 303 or 304, that really helps. So, or if you have already any cloud knowledge already in place, probably AWS or Google or something, or you're playing already role as an solution architect, then definitely that helps, and then you can definitely achieve that particular certification as well. But ultimately goal is that I mean, if you are planning to go ahead with 303 and 304, there is no hurdle. I mean, you can straightforward go ahead and you can appear for that. That's very well possible. Sumit Sethi says that any book or reference study material which we can refer to understand different design pattern for Azure PaaS services. Uh, Definitely, Sumit, I can recommend that. So right now, I mean, if you are willing to go ahead with this, then Azure Architect Center is there. Okay, so under Azure Architect Center, there are different architecture pattern available for solutioning point of view. Okay, application or something point of view. There is nothing called PaaS services point of view, but you will get some particular design patterns. You will get some particular cloud design scalable pattern where you can consider that if you need some scalable activity, if you need certain kind of solutions to be like use as in like let's say retry pattern or certain kind of patterns to be followed and all, then those patterns will give you a kind of advantage to play around with those particular activities. So here I can say that Azure front, there are variety of patterns are there, and those patterns will be a kind of here you can say there are some cloud design patterns, and there are criteria given which criteria you wanted to follow, and based on that design pattern you can build your solution. So as of now I can recommend that you should go through with this particular pattern where you can have some visibility about application development, when to use like retry pattern. Let's say for example, if you have opt for storage account and your storage account is keep on failing, your primary region is down, and now you just wanted to get access from secondary region, what is the best way? So basically the retry is the pattern which you can follow, and in your application code it will allow you to connect and access those particular services as well. So that way at least a kind of retry pattern will helpful to you in terms of working with those activities. Nikita says, any suggestion, advice on how to go through the learning process for a newcomer in Azure? So, Nikita, I definitely suggest that if you do not have any background in Azure, then definitely you should get started with AZ 900, which is something one of the core certification and introductory certification in Azure. That will give you some, or that will clear a lot of fundamental about cloud computing and Azure services and all that. And looking at your background, let's say for example if you are developer background, then definitely you should go through with AZ204, or if you are coming from infra background, then you should take it up AZ104. So these are some particular certifications which required. Of course there are some prerequisite. You should have some background of infra or some background of, if you're coming from infra then definitely, and if you're coming from development background then you should have some background of programming language knowledge like .NET or .NET Core or Java or any object oriented programming language, or even Python is also perfectly fine. So you should have some development background in place so that you can pick up that particular development aspects, and then you can go for that certification as well. So when I say newcomer from Azure, but at least these are some prereq that you should be familiar with some development if you are a developer, and you should be familiar with infra if you are coming from infra background. Yep. Any further queries or questions, guys? We have few more minutes left. Post that we will end the stream, and then please take the advantage of the quiz and submit your response. So as I said, that will be a great valuable output. Sumit says, I'm looking for some example use case like the one you showed in the first slide. Okay, absolutely. So I think from the book front, definitely there is no, I mean, or there are a couple of books which maybe I can refer to that. But in general, when it comes to Azure, definitely the case study which I have showed, or the example which I have showed, is something customized or like developed by me or Shivam, or like we have come up with those particular kind of customized solution. So what I can suggest is that one of the recommendation, I mean, this is something what you can think through, that usually you get these kind of problem statement from your existing organization or from your client project, or the project already has been completed, and maybe you can figure out the problem statement, try to map with service to service, and how you can recommend them to go into the cloud. What is the best way to provide that solution into the cloud? So kind of approach, maybe you can take care of it. But the book's point of view, I have not seen any specific book which talks about only and only case study. So here definitely, I mean, you will get some sort of idea that how that entire activity looks like and what is the background of that particular service. So maybe the POC or the organization example may fit into this criteria. Yeah, even you can take a look at it, Microsoft Learn portal as well. There you will get to see some sort of like examples and use cases Microsoft has also given. So probably you can take a look at it that as well. Jay says location aware access of infra services by Azure. Uh, Sorry, I mean, if you can explain a little bit more, or maybe I can say that what you are trying to question is that where the infrastructure is deployed in Azure, that is something what you want to know, which area or all that thing. Is that what your question, or what is your question? I mean, if you can help me out. Shuyut says, could you please share the PPT? Shuyut, right now PPT is part of the access of this this recording stream. Maybe that is something what you can take a look at it. But yeah, we'll plan something in terms of sharing with all the participants in case anything in future. But right now, definitely you can access it from the portal, yeah, or from the stream or recorded session. Okay, so Jayesh, yeah, definitely you can do so, but you cannot identify where the data center is. There are city-related informations, location-related informations, that in which city, in particularly this data center has been deployed, but you do not have access to the area or pin code, you can say, because that is something Microsoft wanted to keep it secure, right? I mean, how they don't allow they don't allow everybody to come and visit the data center. Otherwise, like each and every single enterprise go and visit their data center, right? So from the public cloud point of view, they just wanted to keep it secure. And from that point of view, definitely it's a kind of like you can say hidden place where it is something not exposed to everybody. It is just the hidden kind of component. Yeah, makes sense. And definitely, I mean, it's in public cloud, then there is no difference between private cloud and public cloud, right? If you know the locations and everything. So definitely it's a complete opaque to us, irrespective Azure, AWS or Google. Okay, it seems we are almost end of the session. Any please make sure that you guys have filled up or completed the quiz and get the benefit as much as possible. And as I said, like that 21st 25% discount is something applicable from packed material as well. Kopal, over to you.
Thank you so much, Jigar. Thanks a lot for the session. Thank you. Thanks everyone for joining in. So I believe most of you got the answers of the questions that you have in mind. And as Jigar mentioned before I end this session, as Jigar mentioned, please don't miss out on that quiz part. Please try to be a part of that winning team and try to avail the I would say the vouchers, that Microsoft vouchers what we are giving away, as well as those books, as you all are there till the end, so you can avail the 25% discount as well on the packed book. So please guys, do avail that opportunity and try to submit the answers within 1.5 hours, and we will get back to you guys with the results in I would say in a couple of days, and we'll soon announce the winners. Thank you so much once again for joining in. And as I did mention on the upcoming webinars, try to join us and try to be with us and just understand what our speakers have to share with you. And I'm pretty sure you would be benefited out of it. And last, I would say, yes, do feel free to reach out to us on our email ID for anything that you would like to know more about on our upcoming batches. As we guys do over the weekends, open batches. I see a lot of you were asking about the trainings as well, which training you should go with. So you guys are most welcome to write us back. We'll be more than happy to help you guys out on each and every detail pertaining to costing, pertaining to schedule, everything that you would like to know more about that particular batch. Thank you so much once again. Thanks a lot, Jigar. Thank you, Shivam. Thanks, everyone. Once again, have a pleasant evening ahead.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jigar. It was a very informative session. Uh, I am pretty sure everybody loved it, and we will love to have you back for more such sessions in the future as well. Thanks for sharing all the approaches, all the patterns, and the thought process of how to handle the customer situation and how to break it up and uh, in a step-by-step manner deploy it or take care of it or handle it. Thanks for that.
Thank you. Thank you, Shivam. Thank you, Kopal.
Thank you. Thanks everyone for joining, and we'll end the stream now, and we'll see you in the next webinar. Bye bye. Thanks everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Bye bye. Have a pleasant evening.